Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Lau with Kenchan Crafts, and today I wanted to open my Pelikans with you guys and compare them. So the first one in this box is my Pelikan Black Tortoiseshell, and that was one of my Grail pens that I've really wanted for so long. And I finally got it. And I managed to get it on Instagram through Izumi Pens, and she had sold it for about 50,000 yen, which is roughly about 350 USD. So, and she also had it in extra fine, which is what I wanted. So I was like, okay, this is the opportunity. I'm getting it. So that's my Black Tortoiseshell M605. And then in this box, this beauty is the M1000. I tried the Pelikan M1000 and I also tried the M800 to see which one felt better in my hands. They both felt fine. However, the writing experience of the M1000 was just unparalleled. And the M800 just felt like another pen to me. Now, I know if you're a Pelikan lover and you love your M800s, you might have differing opinions, but one thing that for sure is that the M1000 does feel very different to the rest of the M series. And so I decided that I want an M1000 in my collection, and I wanted it to be one of my birthday pens. I bought my Pelikan from Pure Pens overseas in Europe, and so I also got it on a really amazing sale. So I got it for about $500 at Pure Pens, and so I had to get it as cheap as I can because I wanted to make this my special birthday pen, and it's going to become Rodden through Bokumondo or another Rodden artist that I have been talking to. So without further ado, let's just open these pens up and take a look at them. I will be going over, the pen specs, do size comparisons, and then do writing sample tests so you can see the difference between the two extra fines. I did buy them in both extra fines, and then I'll also compare them to other pen nib sizes so that you can get a feel for how Pelikan extra fine writes compared to other pens. All right. So this is the Pelikan M605 Black Tortoiseshell, and it comes in this box. It comes in this lovely shoe style box, and then the pen comes I thought that all Pelikans come with a lovely white faux leather case, but this one did not come with it. And I think it's because retailers get to buy the packaging, and Izumi Pens, she probably did not buy the one that comes with a white faux leather envelope. So my friend Maggie at Creating Cute Art, we both bought the same pen at the same time, and when she got hers, hers came with an envelope. Mine didn't. So I was like, what? Why didn't mine come with one? But it did come sealed in a plastic baggie. So I am just so happy with how this pen looks. It is everything I expected it to be. I expected that this pen won't look amazingly shiny if it's not in pure lighting, and that it would look kind of dull in just regular light. But when it hits the light just right, it is gorgeous. So I have natural lighting with me today, so it's not as bright as I wanted it to be. I'm recording around midday, which you would think that the sun would be out, but I think it's cloudy today. There's just the book in the false bottom here, and I think this is the warranty. And nothing else came because this pen is a internal piston filler. So let's take a look at that. The tortoiseshell in Pelikan design is a striated design, so it's vertical or horizontal depending on where you're holding your pen, but it runs along the barrel, and then it's got these beautiful stripes. The unique aspect of the black tortoiseshell is these really just opaque black stripes that kind of feel like they don't belong there, but it is part of the design, and it's very random. every single one of these black tortoiseshell are unique, and the amount of black lines you get in this barrel is different for every pen. Sometimes you get a lot, sometimes you get just one line. But for me, I mean, obviously I love the silvery white rodent-like stripes, but the black opaque lines are also really pretty, so I don't mind that. It's a nice overall design. You can see how beautiful that is. Oh my gosh. I just love this pen so much. Like, my first impression when I got it, because I am zooming in now, so like it's this pen feels big, but looking at it, it was so tiny. It was such a tiny pen. I am very used to larger pens like the Leonardo Momento Zero, and even that one is kind of small. So here is a comparison like of the Momento Zero next to the Pelikan M605. You can see how tiny it is. It's like a baby pen, like, but it, you know, it's not terribly small, but it is small. And then we have Kaweco pens that are super tiny, and even when Kaweco pens are posted, they are baby pens. And so when you put it next to the M605, you can see that it literally is the size of a Kaweco posted. So I always felt and knew that the M605 and below are tiny pens, but they are much tinier than my expectations. But at least I expected that much, that I knew that ahead of time, and I wouldn't be like, I hate it. But I absolutely do love it. It is very lightweight, and it fits very nicely in my hands. However, it is very small, so it's not as girthy. So just going over the pens here, it's got the beautiful finial there of the pelican with feeding its little chick, and the finial here is like a crown. It's really nice and different. And then the clip here is it's a timeless clip, and it's just so clean and simple. And then the little dip here you can see in the pelican's beak, because of that dip here, it just seamlessly slides into any pockets or notebook covers. It's so good, and I can see why lots of people love Pelikan pens so much. I like it too. It is as light as I expected it to be. For those of you that love light pens and write long sessions comfortably with light pens, it's just amazing in that regard. The cap band says, let's see, it says Pelikan Souverän or Souverän, and then Germany. And the clip here comes down to Germany part. The cap is black. That's why this pen is called the Tortoiseshell Black. Pelikan pens are called black, white, red, or brown, and that just determines, or is determined by the color of the cap. So the white tortoiseshell is a white cap with yellow striated stripes. I always wondered why they didn't call it the M400 tortoiseshell yellow or tortoiseshell gold, because like the body is a gold, the barrel is gold, but they name it based on the cap. So it would be interesting to me if they made another tortoiseshell and the cap was black, but the color of the tortoiseshell is like pink. Would they call it tortoiseshell black too, or what would they call it? So that's why I'm always like, give it a more specific name to itself, because if another one comes out, you can't just call it black tortoiseshell again. So that's just my one little thought about naming their pens. Okay, and then as you come down the barrel, it's fairly like straight. It's not really bulbous, only bulbous right here. And then the only taper really is this piston knob here. So it's a very sleek pen. As for the number of turns, okay, so it's about 0.8 of a full turn. So it's very quick and easy to remove the cap from the pen. Super, super easy. Sometimes it can be prone to like the cap unscrewing itself, so that, you know, might have to watch out for that when you take your pen out to places. And then we have the nib. This extra fine nib is so beautiful. It is rhodium plated, and the scroll work on this nib is beautiful. It's got the Pelikan logo right there in the middle with a breather hole and those beautiful swirls. So it says 14 karat 585 for the gold content, and this does come with a plastic feed, but the feed, it is really good. It keeps up in flow of the pens. I heard that Pelikan pens are really wet writers. This pen is tuned a little bit on the average side. The grip section here is actually not too terrible. It is slimmer, but it's not as bad as my other slimmer pens. So like my Sailor Purger Slim or my Platinum Kanazawa, the width, the diameter of the girth is actually pretty okay. It's a little below average, so like maybe 9 to 10 millimeters. Okay, now it is a shorter pen, so you can see how in my hand it barely goes beyond the crevice between my two fingers here, my thumb and finger, and so it is short, which means that I will almost always prefer to write this pen posted so that it feels nice and long enough to feel nice. And it does go slightly longer than I prefer, but it is nice and light, so it is pretty well balanced. The piston mechanism is plastic, so it's not heavy. However, I will say that the Pelikan and I assume the rest of the Pelikan models, they have the best piston mechanism in the whole world. Out of all the piston pens I have, this piston takes like 2 turns to fill the whole thing, whereas like my Leonardo takes 6 to 8 turns before the whole piston goes from the bottom to the top, and TWSBI takes about 4 to 5 twists. This one takes like 2 twists, and so cleaning this pen is very, very easy. If you want to clean it the normal way, which is just using the piston, pulling water in and out. However, the Pelikan pens, the nibs are screwed in. So you hold on to the nib and the feed, and then you just twist the body towards you and it will unscrew the nib. And that way you can clean the nib and the inside of the piston very easily. I did that the other day to ink up this pen, and it was so easy. Super, super easy. So again, that is the Pelikan M605 in extra fine. This is a black tortoiseshell, and I will do a writing sample in a bit. So let's open up the M1000. So it also comes in a very, very similar box. I think the special editions come in like a shoelace type of design on the box. I'm not sure if they're going to continue doing that, just because Pelikan has done quite some changes. But this one is a different kind of box. It is not a shoe box type. It's like almost like a coffin type, but it's got a magnetic flap here, which is really nice. So this pen comes with a faux leather pouch. I would prefer the envelope, but I do feel like Pelikan is cutting in costs. It feels like the envelope just feels more luxurious in a presentation. So this is a very, very simple presentation in my opinion. And the pouch here is it's got like another pouch inside the pouch. It's silly, but I assume the pen goes into the pouch inside the pouch. So before we look at the pen, it's just, well, this is just a warranty, some booklet, stuff that we just need to keep. Nothing too important or nothing too fancy. but very, very important to keep that. All right, so here's the pen. Oh my gosh. This pen feels so different. It feels luxurious, it feels expensive, and it is expensive. In comparison, the body of this M605 feels like plastic, but it's beautiful and sturdy, I will say that. The feeling of the body of this pen, it's smooth and glossy, so it's kind of like my Leonardo pens. Leonardo pens are made of acrylic rods and Italian acrylic rods. This one feels like that. So it feels luxurious, it feels substantial. So this pen is very similar to the M605 in terms of the body. It's got 2 rings here in the cap, and the same thing, Pelikan Souverän, Germany. And I got the black one because, again, I wanted a blank canvas to make this a rodden pen so that it becomes my beautiful birthday pen. Again, it's got that beautiful Pelikan finial there. Lovely, lovely, and it's gold. You know me, I love my gold accents. And then the piston knob over here has 2 rings on it. The bottom ring signifying the end of the piston knob, and the clip here is the Pelikan beak. Very, very functional and classy looking. So for sure, this is going to become a beautiful pen that I will love looking at and love picking up. The most amazing and different thing about the M1000 is the nib. This nib is gigantic. This, I believe, is a number 8 nib. Yeah, it's huge. So my Leonardo Momento Zero Grandes are number 6 nibs. Okay, so yeah. Though this looks bigger than number 6. It's so big. No, yeah, this almost feels like a number 8. Momento Zeros are number 6 nibs. Yeah, so the Momento Zero is slightly smaller than Momento Zero Grande, and then the Momento Zero Grande's nib is then even smaller than this Pelikan nib. Just look at that sheer difference. Gorgeous. So the Pelikan M1000's nib is super long and super wide, you know, just really, really big nib. It's very soft and it does flex. But definitely don't flex. Do not flex like Spencerian flexing. So this is an 18 karat gold nib, and it's dual toned with a gold Pelikan logo among the silver and then gold on the outside. That's just, oh my god, Pelikan's dual tone nib is just gorgeous. And again, I got this in the extra fine. Oh, and then one more thing about the black model is that it's got a transparent, like, greenish ink window right there. The other 1000 models come with translucent bodies, but I'm not sure if the change also affects the 1000s in the new production. So this one will probably be the only one with an ink window to see the ink level. For comfort and how it feels in my hand, the M1000 just feels perfect. It feels great because I'm used to Leonardo Momento Zero Grandes, and this just feels at home for me. It is just long enough over here where the bulk of the weight of the pen sits right here where my hands provide this space for the weight to sit. And the nib itself is big, and so like the pen will write in its own weight, which is lovely. You do not need to post this pen, but if you post it, it isn't terribly heavy, but it is a very long pen, and I find that you will need to grip it a little harder so that the weight doesn't like fall to the back because the cap, there is a little bit of weight in the cap. It's not that heavy. Most of the weight is in the internal piston, which is made of brass, and so it's heavier because of that. Whereas in the M600 and below models, the piston is made of plastic. So I tried this unposted and I like it. I love it. If you only post your pens, I would say that the 600 model and below will probably be better. The M800 and M1000, both of them, their internal piston is made of brass, and so they are heavier. The M1000 is girthier than the M800, and it's slightly longer. So the girth here is roughly 11 to 12 millimeters. And so again, like I've shown in the past, my fingers kind of hold the pen like this. And so I get to have a nice variety of girth section to work with. And this pen is just so lovely. So as you can see the comparison here, the M605 is a very, very tiny pen, and it's not girthy either. The M1000 is a very girthy pen. And I think the best comparisons really is the Momento Zero Grande with the M1000, and then the Sailor Pro Gear Slim with the Pelikan M605. Next to a Pro Gear. All right. So actually, it is more along the size of a Pro Gear. However, the Pro Gear is girthier than the Pelikan M605. I sometimes think of my Pelikan 605 here kind of like my Pro Gear Slims. So there is a pretty good comparison of the two pens here with other pens that are a pretty good match in terms of length and even girth. So let's look at them all side by side and you'll see the difference. All right, so in this shot, the Pelikan M1000 is just slightly shorter than the Pilot Custom A23, which is a larger pen, but it's a lighter pen than the M1000. And then the Grande sits to be the tallest. And then the M600 falls down here in the bottom three, so it is just slightly taller than the Sailor Pro Gear. But again, like I said, slightly less girthy. And then it is slightly shorter than the Momento Zero or your Lamy and Twisbees. In terms of uncap, so uncapped, it is still roughly, the M605 is still retains its third place in terms of this set of pens I have here. And then the M1000 is actually second place here. It's longer than the Pilot Custom A23 and just a hair shorter than the Momento Zero Grande. And then posted. So you can see in the posted forms, the the M1000 is the longest. It's even longer than the Momento Zero Grande, and for sure it's longer than the Pilot Custom A23. So it sits super long. Again, it won't be the most ideal to be posted unless you have really large hands. And the M605 sits at a very comfortable length. It's slightly shorter than the Pilot Custom A23, which I like when posted. So this is a good posted length. All right, so let's do a writing sample of the two Pelikan pens, two extra fine nibs. And today I have my Pelikan M605 inked up with Montblanc Petit Prince Red Fox. This is a lovely, gorgeous red, brown, orange. Just love that combination of colors. And then I don't have this one filled up, but I will just dip it into the ink so you will see. All right, so this is my Pelikan. M605 black tortoiseshell. The ink is Mont Blanc. Red Fox. So it is just moderately, like an average to moderately wet. And again, this is an extra fine nib, so I understand if it isn't like gushing out. And Mont Blanc inks are also kind of on the dry side too. However, this one feels really nice and wet and smooth, so I love it. And so you can see here the line width here is not an extra fine. It's not a normal Western extra fine. This almost writes like a Japanese medium, definitely thicker than a Japanese fine, and it writes like a Western fine, almost medium too, but mostly a fine. The line variation, so this is no pressure, this is some pressure. You can get a little bit of line variation, but you will need to write with very little pressure to begin with to create better line variations. But the M605, M800, M400s, these gold nibs are not very soft. So I'm just putting pressure. I'm not trying to flex the nib, but you can see that when I do soft upstrokes and then harder downstrokes, it's slightly, you get a little bit of line variation. Okay, and it's not entirely a hard nib like sailor nibs. It is just got the smallest bit of bounce, only very small. Okay, so there's that. And then let's play with the big boy here. Now this Pelikan M1000 writes, it's something else, and I love it so much. That is why I had to have it as my birthday pen, as the base for my Rodin design that I want to do in the future. Because Pelikan Rodin pens are just like too expensive. They're like $2,000. I do not want to spend $2,000 on a Rodin pen. This one will be about $900 total. So that's very good for Rodin. And it gets to be done by, you know, a very, very nice and wonderful Rodin artist. All right. So giant nib, I'm just going to dip it. All right. So here it is, the Pelikan. M1000. This is in black. This is extra fine. Again, ink is Mont Blanc. Red Fox. I mean, I did put some pressure as I'm writing, but you can see clearly the difference between the extra fine M1000 and the M600 extra fine nib. So this one writes more like a medium, almost broad, but definitely on the medium side. And the line variation on this one is just spectacular. So no pressure. Oh, gotta redip. Okay, no pressure, some pressure. Yeah, so you can see there's a big line variation difference there. I love this so much. The line variation, and I'm not even pushing it that much either, and I'm getting this lovely line variation. The nib is just so soft and beautiful. So if you have light handwriting, this pen would be so wonderful. And so if you don't flex, you don't have to flex. This pen writes beautifully without it. And it will maintain the same line width. But if you put some pressure as you're writing from time to time, you can create these lovely different line variations and give some character to your writing. That's what I love about this M1000. It gives so much character without much effort. And I'm okay with that. This one just enhances my own handwriting already, and I love it. Let's just put them side by side with some other nib sizes. So this is the M1000 extra fine. Okay. The M605 extra fine. Here is my Kaweco medium nib. Here is my Leonardo fine nib. And this is the Sailor medium fine, and I believe most of us have a Sailor medium fine. Okay. And a TWSBI medium. Yeah, my handwriting is terrible when I get to the bottom of pages. Let me know if you guys also have the same issue. It's just like the difference in the level of where my hand rests and where my fingers need to write is not the same level. And so I just write terribly. Okay, so I believe that the M605 Extra Fine feels like it is between it feels like a Western Fine to me, right? And then it's definitely thicker than the Sailor Medium Fine, and then it's about the same as the TWSBI Medium. But for sure, it's the closest would be the Leonardo Fine, which is a Western Fine. And then the M1000 Extra Fine writes even thicker than the Kaweco Medium and TWSBI Medium. So M1000 Extra Fine writes like a medium, and you can get line variations into a broad. Okay, so my overall final thoughts on the Pelikan pens. Their nibs are very unique. They're made in-house as well, and they do feel different. They have a different writing experience, which I appreciate so much because I collect Leonardos and they're all Yovo nibs. So there's nothing too different about the writing experience when I write with my Leonardo pens. The experience comes in the form of the aesthetic of the pen, and like I love aesthetics of a pen. Like it does enhance my writing experience. However, Pelikan nibs are just so nice. They write like how a pen should, but like to a very elevated level. It isn't extremely like buttery smooth with no feedback. There is feedback on Pelikans. When you hear people say that Pelikans are super smooth, buttery smooth, that doesn't mean it doesn't have feedback. It does have feedback, and I love that feedback. It is music to my ears. I prefer feedback over singing. Feedback is when the nib is grounded to where it's not completely smooth and perfect, and so the feedback will be heard as it's writing on paper. And when a nib is tuned and grounded way too smoothly, you hear singing, which is like squeaking sounds. I don't like that. I like a pen to have a lovely graphite-like feedback, and a lot of pens have different feedback sounds too. So the Pelikan has a very different feedback compared to a sailor pen. If you listen closely, so my extra fine here. Beautiful feedback. It is just what I want to hear when I'm writing. And then sailor feedback is different. See that? But they're both pleasant. To me, at least, they're pleasant. And if you don't like the sound of feedback, this Pelikan Extra Fine does have a feedback like that. And let me see if the M1000 has a feedback too. Yeah, it's got feedback, but it sounds smoother. So it's a smoother feedback because it's a larger nib and larger width size. And then comparing to like my Kaweco almost has no feedback. Yeah, the Kaweco has such a slight humming feedback. It's like you can barely hear it because my Kaweco is super smooth, but it doesn't have singing to it. So that's a different kind of feedback, and I love Pelikan's feedback. It is so nice, and it does write smoothly, and then the smoothness of your Pelikans will vary based on the ink you put in it. A very juicy, lubricated ink will make the feedback much quieter, and a drier ink will obviously create louder feedback. Pros, definitely the piston filling system. You fill up ink in just 2 turns all the way, and it sucks up ink right away. Other piston pens take like 1 to 2 turns before ink starts going up. You get ink right away in the Pelikan piston fillers, and then it's super easy to clean. The nibs do come out, and you can rinse the nib underwater. Easiest pen to clean of all of my pens. I love it. And the third pro is, like I said earlier, the nib. The nib is just so beautiful. It's smooth. It's got feedback, and smooth and feedback is the recipe for beautiful control over your writing. If it's super smooth, I lose control of my writing. If it's super feedbacky, it almost sounds scratchy and it's not smooth. So it has both. Another pro is that it is lightweight. The M600 is lightweight. So for those that like lightweight pens, it's great and it's a good length. The girth isn't terrible. It is on the thin side, but it is a good thin. For the M1000, it is a lovely length of a pen to write unposted, but not so much posted. And it is a heavier pen, but it's not terribly heavy either. So for people that like a little bit more substance and weight to their pens, the M1000, that's a pro in my opinion. Another pro is it's just classic and timeless looking. The design is the same throughout all their pens. They just have different materials that they put into the resin. I believe that their resin is made of cellulose acetate. It's not celluloid, but it's also like not regular plastics, but it is a type of plastic, and it does feel very good. Now to the cons of both pens, definitely the price. I feel like for the M605, the price tag on this pen is $450. For what you get out of this pen, $450 can be worth it for some people, and for the most part, I don't think it's worth $450. But it definitely feels like, in the long run, it does deserve a higher price. However, I still stand by my value of this pen to be $350. I value this at $350, no more than that. And it, to me, a downfall of it is that it does feel like plastic from time to time because it's so lightweight and the material feels that way. The material in here just feels like it's an upgrade. It almost feels like marble in my hands. Expensive granite marble. This one feels like a plastic body. So yeah, that's the only two negatives I have about this pen is the price, as well as it feeling very light and feeling plasticky. But that doesn't mean that it's not high quality. It is very high quality. And then obviously the price again for the M1000. I just think that American retailers selling this for $800, $900 is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Granted, the nib is a whole different experience in itself. It is worth every penny you're going to pay for it, but it shouldn't be worth 800 or 900. I believe that most retailers sell this for between 700 and 750. So that's like the general price point of the Pelikan M1000 in the regular model. In other models, obviously the price goes up. I bought this for 500. I do think it's worth 500 to me. If I got it for even cheaper than that, amazing. But this pen, the value, my value for sure on the M1000 is about 500, 550. It is such a good pen, and 550 is not like pocket change. It's a lot. So other people might value this at 700 or its actual price, but I think 500 is a good value for me, and this pen is so good. I don't think it's a everyday writer. I feel like this one is more of a fancy journaler, fancy heading writer, signature user, a very special kind of use pen, but you can definitely use this every day too. So very versatile in that way. The most versatile of the Pelikans, I think, would probably be the 600 for sure, because it's just lightweight. You can carry it anywhere you want. Really, there's not a lot of cons to these pens besides the price, because they're just so well built. So amazing. So that's my initial impression and review of the Pelikan M605 and M1000, as well as comparisons in their nib writing experiences. If you found any of this helpful, please leave a like and comment down below. Like, if you have a Pelikan, let me know your experiences, because these are my first two Pelikans. I know I went big, but I'm very happy with them. And just look at that. The writing samples here just tells you how amazing this pen is and the experiences I would get out of it. So definitely shop around for a good price for you if you decide you want Pelikan. Like, I know Pelikans are expensive, so it's not something that I would collect a lot of, but if I had the spare change or spare extra money for it, I think I would, because they write consistently well. They have the most amazing piston filling system that makes filling ink and cleaning the pen such a breeze. And we all hate cleaning fountain pens, right? So I just love that. So yeah, if you found that helpful, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye. This nib is gigantic. It's the size of, like, oh my god. Can you believe this is an extra fine? Just look at that tipping material. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's so expensive looking. Look at how different they are. It's a baby pen. This is smaller than a grande. These are M600s are nothing.